Star Wars Outlaws reminds me of most Star Wars TV shows. Everything looks and sounds good when the trailers and details come out, but when you actually watch the show, or in this case, play the game, you find that the project is filled with flaws and disappointment. Both Star Wars and Ubisoft have been in the gutter for a while, and many people were not excited for Outlaws. People have plenty of good reasons as to why they are disenchanted with both Ubisoft and Star Wars. But for me, I blocked out the noise, and I was low-key excited for this game. I wanted to try it. And it's not that I expected it to be the greatest game ever made, I just wanted a fun and memorable Star Wars game that could provide me with that experience of being an outlaw in the galaxy. Yeah, we all love the Force, lightsabers, and all the memorable characters, but there was something intriguing about being an unknown character looking to make their way through the galaxy and make a name for themselves, and ultimately, again, be an outlaw, be your own version of Han Solo. I know many of you are going to be out there saying I shouldn't have gotten excited for this game, but I'm a sucker for giving things a chance, especially when it comes to Star Wars. Outlaws is a game full of great ideas, don't get me wrong, but many don't come to fruition. It's another typical open-world Ubisoft game in which the world, or in this case planets, are all beautifully crafted, but the actual gameplay and story itself is subpar. All that hard work in creating beautiful planets means nothing when the actual gameplay and story is lackluster. So today I will be reviewing Star Wars Outlaws, and I want to explain why I think this game was a wasted opportunity for both the franchise and for gamers. So, Outlaws is an action-adventure third-person open-world game in which you play as the character Kay Vess. The game offers a few planets to explore and complete missions on. You also have a ship called the Trailblazer, and you're able to fly around, get into dogfights, and complete missions out in space as well. Combat is primarily focused on two things: melee combat for stealth and Kay's own blaster. Kay's blaster is decent. There are a few customization options that allow you to change the firing mode, and the blaster options not only help you fight enemies in different ways, but the firing modes or mods, whatever you want to call them, also help get you through environmental obstacles. You also have the speeder bike that helps you get around on the planet. If only Starfield had that on day one, eh? You can upgrade the speeder to make it go faster, the jump higher, and things like that. You can also upgrade different aspects of the ship like weapons and defenses. So the blaster, ship, and speeder can all be upgraded and have different cosmetics be applied to them. The game offers 5 different planets to visit and explore. Those planets are Cantonica, Toshara, Tatooine, Akiva, and Kijimi. There's plenty of things to do on these planets to keep you busy. You got your main story missions, side missions, and other activities that usually involve you finding parts to upgrade your blaster, speeder, and ship. You can also find other resources, cosmetics, and whatnot as well. And the planets all have different looks and vibes, which is nice. You have a crowded city, a big desert, you have a jungle world, a frozen city, and a savanna-like biome world. I do have issues, however, with some of the planets. Tatooine is obviously iconic, but there's so much open space in desert area that you will travel through it and it just feels open and empty at times. When you go through the canyon areas, it can be a pain to get around because it almost feels like a maze where you have to try and find the right path or road to get out of there. Akiva, in my opinion, is the most frustrating planet to traverse around because you literally have to use one main road to get around all the jungle vegetation and mountain terrain. There's a few fast travel points, but they are few and far between, and they aren't always helpful depending on what location you need to go to next. Also, some fast travel points are only available for use if you are on good terms with the crime syndicates. And that's what I want to talk about next. The game features a reputation system with the 4 crime syndicates that you will be interacting with throughout the game. Decisions you make throughout the game will impact your standing with each of the factions, and the 4 syndicates you will come across in Outlaws include the Ashiga Clan, Crimson Dawn, Hutt Cartel, and Pike Syndicate. Throughout different missions in the game, you will work with a particular syndicate, and sometimes you have to double-cross one of them and help the other. Your reputation with each of these syndicates can fluctuate depending on the decisions you make. A high faction reputation grants you access to locations controlled by that syndicate, assignments to complete, and earn discounts at faction shops. Now on the flip side, a low reputation will take away those discounts, access to locations, and if you really piss off a syndicate, they will shoot you on sight or even send people out to kill you. The reputation system is good, but not great. A lot of stuff is repetitive. You can earn or lose the same stuff from all 4 syndicates. You could also earn cosmetics from each syndicate as you increase your reputation. Sure, the cosmetics look different, but it's really just a repeat cycle between the 4 factions. Outlaws suffers from one of the most common flaws of open world games. What is that flaw? Well, it's the endless amount of repeat content that lacks creativity. You earn the same rewards, you are assigned the same kind of missions from the syndicates, the consequences of good and bad relationships are the same. There's no sort of creativity here. It would be nice if the syndicates each had unique traits that would help me come up with a decision on who to help or who to screw over. And in return, maybe each syndicate could have their own unique way of helping me with a task. Maybe they have a specialization. Sure, the outcome or reward of a mission might vary depending on who I help, but I need something more to entice me to want to help the Pikes. Because, if they give me an upgrade for my ship or give me access to some valuable loot, then maybe it would be worth signing with them. Or what if I pick the Pikes over the Hutt Cartel? Maybe there's a mission or an activity or something that I only get by choosing to side with them in a particular moment. Overall, the cool idea of the syndicates and the reputation system fades as you put hours into the game because it's all the same. Same thing on the planets. Sure, they all look different, but the gameplay is super repetitive. This game could take you probably well over 50 hours to complete if you do everything, every bit of exploring, every single mission, every single side thing, but the majority of that time will be spent going to every question mark on the map and trying to find the loot at the location, and then some things you can't even acquire right away because you have to wait until you get the right tool to use in order to access the building or the area that the loot is hiding in. I personally don't like to rush through the main story right away. I like to mix it up, play a couple of main missions, do some side activities, and go exploring. Why tell me the specific location for loot when you know I can't get it yet because I literally have to continue playing through the game in order to unlock the equipment needed to access it? That right there is a game developing flaw. I'll get to the story here shortly, but first let me round out the gameplay elements. This game faced a lot of harsh but fair criticism. There's quite a few flaws in the gameplay and design. The game lacks originality and innovation. That's typical for a Ubisoft game at this point, because lately their games just pick ideas from past games and throw a bunch of them together into their new games or franchises. The game was originally designed to feature a lot of stealth gameplay, but the stealth mechanics were bad. They were flat out underdeveloped and felt cumbersome in literally every single stealth situation, and I found myself quickly losing motivation to complete side missions and activities because it all felt repetitive and unrewarding. Even the space combat got old quickly. For a game that's supposed to have themes of being an outlaw, it sure didn't feel like it on many occasions. Now, the first couple of months of this game was rough. Not only were there gameplay complaints coming in left and right, but people had plenty of technical issues as well. Gamers complained about bugs and glitches, and I know for me personally, I had issues where the game would crash and sometimes the game's main menu wouldn't even load properly. Like literally turning on the PlayStation, turning on the game, and I couldn't even get to the main menu without something bugging out. That's a big yikes. And like with all modern games today, the game received updates that patched up all these issues, and the game was hated on so much in those first few months that the developers actually removed some of those forced stealth situations in the game, actually all of them. There were a lot of missions that would require you to sneak around and not get caught, otherwise the mission would fail. Now think about that for a moment. A single-player game had major gameplay mechanics removed because many people felt it was so unbearable to play. That's crazy when you actually stop and think about that for a moment. In regards to the ship and speeder gameplay, I didn't have much of an issue with it compared to others. Gameplay with the speeder bike and the Trailblazer were pretty basic. Many people said the space combat lacked ambition, that it was undercooked and lacked depth. Now I would agree with that. It's not broken or difficult to play, but it's not very memorable. I had no desire to be like, ooh, I want to go fly into space and get into dogfights with pirate ships or TIE fighters. Now, where I had more of an issue comes with the speeder bike. The speeder controls are a little difficult to work with, and the biggest issue with the bike comes from the fact that you can only fire your blaster while Adrenaline Rush is activated. And now that's this game's version of Red Dead's Deadeye. You know, just another feature taken from another game. Getting into gunfights while on the speeder is very tedious. It's really a pain in the ass, especially early on in the game when it takes longer for you to develop your adrenaline, for it to refill so you could use it. Why can't you just freely shoot? I don't understand that. The adrenaline rush should basically be an added bonus, like when it fills up and you could use it, that's when you use it to take out enemies more efficiently because you can lock onto them. This is yet another weird design choice. Unfortunately, the gameplay isn't the only thing wrong with this game. The story of Outlaws is also disappointing. The game takes place between episode 5 and 6, and you play as Kay Vess, who is a young thief looking to leave her homeworld of Cantonica. She gets in some trouble with a local crime syndicate called Zarek Besh, and their leader Sliro Barsha, who is actually an undercover Imperial Security Bureau director. Say that 3 times fast. Now, I will say this, I was intrigued at the beginning of the game because you go on a heist with a group of people, and of course that heist goes off the rails, and Kay escapes by stealing the Trailblazer. She ends up landing on Toshara and meets a mechanic named Waka and Jalen Vrex, a fellow outlaw. Jalen recruits Kay as he's planning his own heist to steal from Sliro. Kay also meets ND5, a reprogrammed separatist commando droid. He joins Kay and her furry little companion Nyx on adventures as they look to add more people to their crew. Now, I did enjoy the company of ND5 and Nyx. ND5 has a pretty cool droid personality and eventually forms a good bond with Kay. Nyx is a cute little fur ball that comes in handy. You can command him to open doors, rip off panels, attack enemies, and pick up weapons. Now, it's not a groundbreaking gameplay element, but it does add another cool layer to the experience. So most of the story has you going out and recruiting a few more people to join the crew. You need a safecracker, a droid smith, and an expert slicer. Each recruitment is like a chapter where you will go on multiple missions and mini adventures and do stuff in order to get these people to join your side. The last person you recruit, the expert slicer, turns out to be Kay's mother, and it's Jalen who just recruits her out of nowhere. There's a few flashbacks in the game that pop up that give you an insight to Kay's childhood and how she grew up being a thief with her mother, and then her mother basically just flat out abandons her. Things get really weird at the end because the story becomes choppy, rushed, and things hardly make sense. Sliro's true identity is revealed that he's working for the Imperials. We learn that Jalen and Sliro are brothers, and Jalen's just simply out for revenge. Betrayals and alliances shift around between the characters, and it just feels disjointed. I was confused because this stuff just comes out of nowhere. They just tell us in a quick conversation about these character motivations, and when you give me 15 different plot twists in a span of 2 or 3 missions or a span of 30 minutes in my playthrough, it's not, I don't know, it didn't sit right with me. It didn't really hit those notes. And again, like I said, I was confused. This stuff was not jaw-dropping, and it really just ultimately was a confusing pile of heaping hot garbage. This big heist you spend the entire game preparing for ends up not living up to the hype. Not even Darth Vader's appearance could save this story. And early in the game, Sliro hires a bounty hunter named Vale, and you encounter her on a few brief occasions, but there's really nothing memorable there with her. And that could have been an intriguing storyline. A game of cat and mouse between Kay and Vale could have been written in somehow, and it could have been awesome. But at the end of the day, it's just another story thread that didn't add up to be much. And I did not feel a sense of satisfaction once I completed this game. I was left confused and disappointed. And that's because the last portion of the story was put together poorly. I don't recommend playing Star Wars Outlaws. The game really was a waste of time for me. There's nothing memorable about it. Like I said at the beginning of the video, there's a bunch of great ideas, but the execution of those ideas were done poorly. Yes, the game does feel like Star Wars, but I didn't feel much enjoyment during my playthrough. I enjoyed it for perhaps the first 7 hours, but then I quickly realized just how average and repetitive this whole experience was. It shouldn't be hard to make a Star Wars game enjoyable, yet here we are. You know, I could look past the fact that we can't create our own character. I really would have loved that, but okay, they created a character and a set narrative. That's fine. Set character, set narrative. I can live with it if you make the story and the gameplay fun. And I'm not one of these weirdos out there that got butthurt over Kay's appearance. The developers literally mirrored Kay to look like the actress who played the character. I don't know what some of these people want. What, does the female protagonist have to be running around looking like Bikini Leia? No, the game did not have an agenda to de-beautify women. That is just a stupid opinion that so many people had. But at the end of the day, the game doesn't provide an enjoyable experience. Everything about this game is mid. The gameplay elements are mid, the story is mid, and the biggest disappointment for me is that this game missed out on the potential to be the Star Wars version of GTA. They had a wanted system where the Empire would eventually hunt you down for messing with them. They would dispatch Death Troopers, which was their version of GTA SWAT team. You remember in GTA, anytime the SWAT team would come after you, they would kick your ass. The Death Troopers and Outlaws? Not so much. And another thing, I never felt like a bad guy in this game. This game isn't about being an outlaw. It's more of a hero adventure game. And why do I say that? Well, you can't convince me that you are truly a bad guy when all you do is steal from the Empire and the crime syndicates. Being an outlaw means you are going after the innocent. People throughout the galaxy should fear you and know what you are capable of. You know, dangerous things. So I'll give Star Wars Outlaws a 5 out of 10. I don't recommend this game. There's plenty of other games worthy of your time. Well, thanks for checking out the video. Shout out to all the subscribers who support me. Welcome if you're stopping by for the very first time. I hope you consider subscribing and check out other videos on the channel. Let me know your thoughts on Star Wars Outlaws and tell me what kind of games you would like to see be made in this franchise. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks again for watching and take care.